If you thought that Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter couldn't get any more disastrous, then boy, do we have news for you. Here are the latest insane developments. Just yesterday, several of Twitter's top executives resigned from the company. This is like Ted Lasso running the soccer team at the beginning of season 1. The company's chief information security officer out, chief privacy officer out, chief compliance officer also resigned yesterday, along with several other members of Twitter's privacy and security unit. One of the most surprising was the company's head of moderation and safety, Yoel Roth, who had become the public face of the company's efforts to reassure users and advertisers that Twitter would not descend into a free-for-all. He's gone. On Wednesday, he appeared on a Twitter Spaces public meeting to defend the company to advertisers alongside Musk. To make matters worse, those resignations have drawn the ire of, just the Federal Trade Commission. The agency said that it was tracking the developments at Twitter with deep concern and that it was prepared to take action to ensure the company was complying with a settlement known as a consent order or consent decree, which requires Twitter to comply with certain privacy and security requirements because of allegations of past data misuse. 3 of the resignations Thursday were by members of the Data Governance Committee established in the deal with the FTC. If the FTC decides that Twitter is not following its consent decree, it could fine the company millions, if not over $1 billion. And that is not the end of Elon Musk's woes. In the past few weeks, of course, he's made his primary focus at Twitter to institute the new verification system in which you can pay $8 a month to receive a blue check. As of last night, users can no longer sign up for that feature.
Oops.
Whoa, oops, he did it again. And by did it, he doesn't know what he's doing. Some users who already paid for the service said their paid for blue check mark has disappeared from their account. The new blue check marks just rolled out on Wednesday, meaning the feature did not even last 48 hours. This is like a Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy movie. This is unbelievable. That's because it's really easy to impersonate just about anybody with this new, very poorly thought out system. Look no further than pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly. Someone impersonated them with a verified checkmark and tweeted, "We're now excited to announce insulin is free."
Oops.
The company had to issue an apology from their actual account, which his name is LilyPad, far less official sounding than the fake account. "We apologize to those who have been served a misleading message from a fake Lilly account. Our official Twitter account is @LilyPad. You'll notice there's a gray official badge in that image under the check mark. So there's now 2 badges they were trying to figure out, both a check you can pay for and an official badge. And of course, the message there from Eli Lilly is, don't worry, we're still gonna gouge you on the prices for insulin. Stand by. But that was not enough, that correction, to stop Eli Lilly's stock from taking a hit. Take a look at this chart right here, down 3 and some percent in the past 5 days, but a big dip right there. And all of this havoc at Twitter, not to mention the massive company-wide layoffs, then asking some to return the next day, and Musk's elimination of remote work, which he just told all the employees on Wednesday they would need to start coming in a full 40 hours a week into the office beginning the very next day. All of it weighing very heavily on Twitter's employees. Take it from a former Twitter employee who actually survived the mass layoffs but decided to quit anyway. People are enraged, with very few expecting RTO would happen this soon. I am ethically not okay with making the richest person in the world even richer. Also not okay with this alpha dog mentality. It's already trickling down. Elon's erratic behavior is also really bad for users. In an internal Slack message shared with the Washington Post, an employee said the quick release of products and changes without effective security reviews was, quote, extremely dangerous for users. The message said engineers would have to take on the burden of certifying that the products complied with FTC agreements, putting them themselves personally at substantial legal risk. Meanwhile, Elon is still pretending everything's fine and doing his fake populist garbage, tweeting, as Twitter pursues the goal of elevating citizen journalism, yes, Media elite will try everything to stop that from happening. Mainstream media will still thrive, but increased competition from citizens will cause them to be more accurate as their oligopoly on information is disrupted. I love that he talks still as though he can predict how the future of media will unfold when he can't even understand if you verify people who are unverified, you're gonna have problems. But let's prognosticate about the future. Cenk?
Okay, so there's two issues here. One is Elon Musk backpedaling on the $8 verification thing. I was trying to find his tweet from a couple of days ago to give him some ironic credit, right? He tweeted, look, over the next couple of days or months, etc., Twitter will do some dumb things, but hey, that's us learning and we'll change as we go along, etc. And I thought that was both a little humble and it's called A/B testing in digital media, where you try one thing and then try the next thing and see which one works better. And I thought it was a good point, but I couldn't find the tweet. You know why? If you type in Elon Musk, you get 2,000 fake accounts. Okay, so that's the great irony of it. But overall he's wrong. It's okay to try things and fail. That attitude is correct. But to try them without even thinking them through, and to try them on spectacular basis, go all the way public instantly. You're supposed to do little tests, right? And you're supposed to, try it a little bit here and a little bit there, and with
consult
this
your
demographic,
team.
et cetera. And you're supposed to think things through.
Consult your employees.
Right, and this guy instead is like, well, okay, I got an idea. Let's charge $20 for the blue checks, and who cares if you're verified or not verified, and nobody knows anything. No, it's $8. No, we're not doing it at all.
Like, well, we're gonna quit if you do it. I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it, pressing the button, and we're quitting. I'm still doing it. The FTC's on your shoulder. Maybe I'll take it back.
Yeah, and so he took it back partly because of the FTC and partly because when Eli Lilly's stock crashes, they're not gonna be happy about that. And then he's gonna have potential lawsuits on his hands for that, let alone people saying terrible things, impersonating other people, and that could be a lawsuit. And then he realized, oh, maybe I should have thought it through, which leads to the second point. Guys, those guys quitting now are not part of their initial batch. The initial batch that he fired were people that were against Elon Musk and had sued him to make sure the deal got completed. I said, we're the fairest show in America, so I told you, look, it makes sense that he fired those guys. He was fighting with those guys, then he takes over the company, it's his company, he gets to do whatever he wants. These new guys that quit, it's a totally different thing. If they stayed, they were gonna get a lot of money because those are the guys he absolutely needed to run Twitter. And not only the employees, but the FTC and so many others trusted those guys. He needed those guys really badly. And a guy who needs them really badly would have paid a lot of money for them, right? The fact that they quit shows you that there's one of two things that are possible. One is they realize, oh, we're doing really illegal things. Ain't no money worth going to jail for. I'm out of here, right? I got plenty of other good job offers. I don't need this crap. Or they came to the conclusion, oh no, this guy's actually nuts. This guy, we can't stay. This guy, I don't care how much he pays me, he's nuts. And this is all gonna get us in trouble. So I think it's one of those two options. Brian, what do you think?
I think that Elon is coming to terms with this irreconcilable issue where he took over because he said that free speech was at risk. And what he's realizing now is that from a business perspective, these things are in direct contrast with each other, which is that if you allow the platform to just become a free-for-all and have no content moderation and you don't verify identities and you just basically, turn it into this little funnel to make $8 a person so that you can recoup your investment, the advertisers are going to see that this is not a sustainable way to spend their money. And so he came into this with this riding on this like free speech horse, right? But like, at the end of the day, there's a reason why all of these social media platforms do have to do content moderation and can't just have a free for all, because you'll have this kind of impersonation. You'll drive regular users, the people who actually do create the content on that platform, off the platform if they realize that it's just a platform full of neo-Nazis and it turns into 8chan basically. And so I think what you're gonna see is him slowly start to back away from all of these promises he made about unrestricted free speech, and it's really going to ultimately look pretty similar at the end of the day to what Twitter was before, if he doesn't tank it in the meantime, which seems to be happening quicker and quicker by the day.
I think Brian's exactly right. I just want to read one comment from a member on Twitch. Herbery said, this is like watching a child run a Fortune 500 company. And it's true, and the bottom line is, his original thesis was wrong. He thought, I could just let him run wild and it'll work. Well, it didn't work. So he's now stuck. And I don't know what the hell he's gonna do with it other than go bankrupt, which is, he said twice, yesterday and today, we could go bankrupt. We can go bankrupt. He's like panicking the Twitter employees about how they can go bankrupt, because they can. If you missed the show yesterday, not only is he botching it with all of this, and this is a massive problem for Twitter, but remember, he borrowed $13 billion. The interest payments on that $13 billion is $1 billion every year. Twitter's entire revenue is only $700 million. The interest rate is higher than not their profits, but their revenue. That is an insanely bad business decision. I can't believe how bad he is at this.
That said,
I was just gonna say that I think that also there's this oozing contempt for the content creators on the platform, to the point where it's like, look, we're all on a lot of platforms. My principal platform is on YouTube, but I spend a hell of a lot of time in my day on Twitter, and too much time of my day on Twitter. And the thought, though, that any other platform would charge the content creator to create content, which is what we're doing every time we tweet, every time we bring people to the platform. I mean, you've all read the studies where a relatively small number of users actually create the vast majority of the tweets on that platform. That is the content. That is the product. And so there's just this like dripping disdain for the people who are actually creating the product on that platform. And there are enough other social media platforms that if we're feeling like we're just getting screwed over, or even worse, that we're being like exploited by trying to charge content creators for the privilege of posting our content on that platform, they're just gonna leave. Like there are other platforms, and you can go to YouTube, you can go to Twitch and Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And that's to say nothing of the fact that already Twitter is the smallest platform of all of those.
Yeah, and it just, even though it's an insane amount of interest he'll have to pay back on this loan, the other part is that it's much worse for everybody else at Twitter than him, because he'll survive if Twitter goes bankrupt. He'll have to pay a lot of money in paying those loans back, but he will survive. To a degree, it almost feels like he's intentionally tanking the company just to mess with the world, just to keep himself in the headlines, like a next generation Trump. And it's pretty wild. And just, I think the best example was AOC's clapback at Elon saying $8 for the check mark, $8 for the check mark, and she said the irony of a billionaire saying we need free speech and free speech will cost you $8 is pretty amazing. He said, ha, it's still gonna be $8, and now maybe it's not, just a few days later.
Yeah. So I guess AOC was right all along. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat, emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.